Hello, my name is Rachel, and I love making chain and scale mail, and my next convention is coming up real soon. It's just a little over a week away, and next week I'm going to do a video where I show you a bunch of the new things that I've made that I'll be taking to the convention with me. But this week I thought I would share with you how I make these scale mail chokers. So what this will be a nice tutorial for is how to do chains of scale mail. So this isn't like the type of scale mail I would use to necessarily build a top, although there is a way to do that because you can connect chains together, but we're not going to get into that in today's video. I'm just going to show you how to make these simple chains of scale mail, which are great for making chokers and belts and all sorts of other applications. And also, like I said, you can make several of them and sew them together by hooking the rings together there, but we're not going to cover that today. Today we are just doing these straight lines to make a choker. I have done a tutorial on this one time before, but it was actually on a Christmas video. It was like a Christmas challenge video, so I made my Christmas outfit with some scale mail and showed you all how to do this, but I'm sure that's gotten hidden because it's a Christmas video. So I thought I would do another one so I can actually emphasize this one as a tutorial for scale mail chains. So we are going to whip the camera around into Craft Vision, and I will show you all the supplies that I'm going to use and how I make one of these little chokers. And I completely forgot to mention that this choker is actually in my Etsy. So if you like this one, you can go check out my Etsy, which is down in the description box below, and take a look. Or I'm about to show you how to make one so you can make your own. So first I'll show you the supplies I'm going to use. We're actually making a black and silver choker. Now each side of the choker will have 12 scales. And then I'm using a slightly larger ring than I used in this one. And then I will have, this one had the skeleton mermaid charm, but I will be using this charm, which was a pair of earrings, and I stole one of them. So that's what we'll need. We need the 12 scales for each side. I have my ring, I have my lobster claw clasp for the end. This is just for the end chain. I like to put a little charm on the end chain, and I use a safety pin to mark where my beginning scale is. You'll see that in a minute. And then of course I need rings, and I get these rings from Chainmail Joe off of Amazon, and I will put an associate link down in the description box below if you are interested in some of these rings. But these scales, I get my scales from the Ring Lord, which is a Canadian company, and they have so many different sizes, starting at tiny. It's like tiny, small, medium, large, and extra large. And these are the large scales. And for the large scales, what you need are the 5/16 16 gauge. So that's what I have here, 5/16 16 gauge. So we're gonna need a pile of those. And of course you're going to need a pair of pliers. I went through so many pairs of pliers before I finally settled on these Lindstrom pliers. These are so comfortable. These are the most comfortable pliers I've ever found, but they're not cheap. But they were well worth the investment, and I've been using them for many years now. And the great thing about these is they have this plastic spring here, so if that spring does break, you can buy replacements of these and just replace them. There's also little slots in here where you can, oh, here it is, on this side, so you can change the tension on them. But on just a regular pair of pliers, I don't know how many times I've had like the little things there in the center snap, and then you can't use them anymore, or at least they're not easy to use anymore. So I really love these that they do have. Like, they are expensive, but they will last a very long time, because the one thing that can go wrong, you can replace. All right. So my convention next week is the Unconvention in New Jersey. It's similar to Dark Side of the Con, which I did last year. It's going to have there's a ton of bands. I'll put the little flyer up for it so you can take a look and see all the bands that are going to be there, and it's going to be hopefully a really fun and pretty big. It's an alternative Gothic, witchy, all that sort of stuff themed convention. Oh, you know, I guess alternative is a blanket term for everything. But okay, so let's start, and we're doing, like I said, we're doing the chainmail chains. So what you want to do for that, you start by putting these two just right on top of each other, but we're going to do all of our weaving from this side. So we're putting these two scales just on top of each other, and then we're going to take a ring. And remember, when you open your rings, always go like that, never pull them apart, slide them like that way to open them so you get a nice clean closure. So we're going to hook those two together, and then see, you get a nice clean closure when you separate the rings in that manner. So now we have our first two together, and you can see that's what it will look like on that side. And to mark my top ring, I like to use a safety pin. I use safety pins a lot for marking the beginning of my weave. And then what I'm gonna have to do is, because like now I'm gonna kind of lose it a little bit, because I'm just gonna drop that one down like that. And then we're gonna put on our next scale like that. And then again, open the ring. Make sure you don't slip it through the rings above. I'm gonna get it over to there to the side. Yeah. And then, see, I can just grab my safety pin and it all falls back into place. And then, yeah, I don't know if I've been taking from both piles, but I know I need 12 on each side, so that'll help me with that. But yeah, so we're just going to go through and keep doing this until we have all 12 scales in our little chain. I'm not sure if there's a specific name for when you weave scales like this, but as you can tell, I call it a scale mail chain. Okay, so I'm just going to speed up the footage here to finish off this side, because basically we're just going to be doing the same thing all the way through. I might even cut some out, because it'll probably be boring to watch me do all of this. And I hope you have the idea now. So we finished our first side of the choker, and we're going to start on the second side. And usually the colored scales are the same color on both sides, but I think this is a painted scale as opposed to an anodized scale, so it only has color on one side. But actually, I think for showing how to do these chains makes it a little bit easier to see how it's done, because you can see that you take them and you put them both so that both of the silver sides are up. So I'm now finished with both my chains, and you can see how none of the rings go into another ring. The rings only go through the two scales. So be careful when you're putting them together, because sometimes the new ring you're putting in will want to go through one of the rings above it, and you want to make sure you do not latch the rings into the rings, only through the scales. And then you'll have a nice weave, and then you'll have a nice weave that looks like that on the underside. So see, none of the rings are through each other. And then, I'm losing it there. And then on the back side, it'll look like scales or scale mail. So next, what I usually do is on the underside of each of these, I'm just going to take one ring. Remember, always slide open like that. Never pull them open. But here at the bottom, these two rings, I'm just going to loop it through those two rings like that. And I'm doing that so that I have a place to anchor the chain part of the necklace, because I need the part with the lobster claw and the part where you hook the lobster claw into. So I do that on both ends. And just through those bottom two rings. There we go. And then next, we're going to hook it to the silver metal ring. That'll be our centerpiece. And I completely forgot to mention, for this part, I'm actually using a slightly smaller ring, just so it's not as chunky. I don't know how to explain that, but I'm using, this is going to be still a 16 gauge, but these are only 1/4 inch rings. So we're going to use those to attach our scale mail chains to our ring. And just through and through. Oops, didn't open it enough. This ring is a little thick. Through. Okay, and then I'm actually going to take a ring and I'm going to put it through these two rings. I don't think this really does anything, I just like the way it looks. But on the top there, like that. Just through those two rings. And then that's what that looks like. And let's do the same thing with her other side. And make sure, of course, both of your chains, when you pull it out, the black will be in the same direction. So, as you can see, this is coming together quickly, and that's what we have now. So next, I'm just going to make the chain parts for, this, for hooking it around your neck. So first I'm just gonna close several of these rings, and that'll just, for me, speed up the creating of the chain process here in a minute. So I got a nice pile of closed rings and a nice pile of still not open, but not completely closed rings. And for the lobster claw side, it's going to be just a really small length of chain, and I'm doing the chain in a really simple 2 and 2. So it's just 2 rings through 2 rings. And this one doesn't have to be very long at all because it's for the lobster claw. So I'm just hooking that lobster claw right on there. And then we'll create the other chain, which will be much longer, of course. So for this one, I can start with 4 on one. And then when you do that, you break it into the 2, 2, 2, and you already have 3 sections of chain. Now when you're doing your second open and shut ring, when you're doing these chains, do make sure that you get it in the right position lined up next to that first one. There is a wrong way that'll give a kind of, it'll mess up the chain. so just make sure that, it's going in the same direction. Just to show you here, if you hooked it from the wrong side, see how that kind of, everything's kind of messed up there. That's what you don't want to do. So yeah, just make sure it's lined up properly. Okay, so that is, I think, as long as I need to make the chain. It might even be longer than I really needed to make it, but I do like to give them a little extra length. And then the last thing I'm just going to do is put on our little charm. Okay, so I grabbed 2 more of the 16 gauge 1/4 inch rings to attach the pendant. These are split rings, but they're steel and they're too strong for me to open, because it would be perfect if I could have opened it up and slid that on there. But instead, I'm just going to have to do the 2-ring method, because this one's already, you know, perfectly set up for that direction. So once I do that, I'm going to have to use another ring to actually hook it here. I actually don't like the way that 1/4 inch fits. Take that back off. It's just a little bit too wide for it. We are going to do one of these, the 5/16. Yeah, much better, much better. So, but we'll still use the 1/4 inch to attach it to the choker. So that's that. And then we're going to flip it over. And I always put my lobster claw on the right side. Since most people are right-handed, it makes it a little easier for the clasp. Sorry, lefties. But, you know, at special request, I will, of course, flip that. It's always easy to alter these things. So I'm just going to do another 5/16 ring in there, and we're just going to lift that one up and put it through. And then I always do it double so it matches the rest of the chain. So there we have the lobster claw, and then we just do the exact same thing to the other side. Lift up that single ring. All right, and that is a completed scale mail choker necklace. Let's eek. So let's flip the camera back around and try this on and see how it looks. So here we go. Here is our finished scale mail choker. And her little pentagram goat head pendant, which I think is really cute. Okay, so yeah, that is it. That's a fairly simple scale mail project. If you want to give it a try, if you're thinking about getting into scale mail, this might be a good place to start because it is so simple and easy. But let me know what you thought about this tutorial, and if you have any questions, please ask me down in the comments below. And that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, feel free to give us a thumbs down, and please tell me all about it in the comments below. And please subscribe to the channel. And I hope everyone is just staying happy, healthy, and safe in this incredibly crazy world we're living in. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.